Welcome to Market Buzz. I'm Greg Schnell, the Canadian technician and host of the Market Buzz. Each show we do a deep dive into different industries using weekly charts usually. Today we're going to use daily to see what is happening on a long timeline. Please follow me on Twitter at Schnell Investor, and you can also find my blogs on gregschnell.com as well as StockCharts.com. So last week I covered off the most beaten down names in the clean tech area of the market. Clean tech being anything to do with electric vehicles, automation, robotics, all of that stuff. We've had quite a move in and a move out of money into that area. So I wanted to go, and last week again we did all the beaten up ones. So this week I want to do some that are performing the best this month, over the last month. Anyway, so that's what we're going to focus on. Again, it's been beaten down. It's a flyover. And if you would like to go look at my monthly conference call, I've been putting the link in the description below the YouTube video. So if you're interested, you could follow that link and go check out my monthly conference call that goes out with the members on the website. Okay, so let's head over and just start with where's the market at here. And so here's our NASDAQ. And so this is the 60-minute version, and you could just see we've been trending down gently, and we're getting to the place where it's kind of going to come up against the downtrend line, and we'll see if we have any momentum through that. Here's the 50-day moving average, and that's been a little bit of resistance for the last few days. Can we finally pop through it? And on the weekly chart, everything still looks relatively good. The biggest problem we have is this double divergence where we have a lower high in the momentum, another lower high, and price has gone higher. So we have this, first of all, the divergence between this piece and the PPO, and now the second piece and the PPO, and we just keep losing momentum as we go higher. So that's a cautionary tale of the tape. We also have the relative strength compared to the S&P 500 breaking down. And normally when the NASDAQ underperforms, that's not a great signal. So we're watching those heartbeats to just see. So far the rotation has been into the stay-at-home trade, but want to continue to watch that and make sure that that trade continues to work, because we've had a lot of hurdles on the NASDAQ side. So if that started to spread to the wider market, that would be an issue. Here's just a little longer time frame on that 60-minute chart, but you can just see we've got kind of an arching top here, and each rally, what you'll typically see on a chart is when the rally starts, this small wave is smaller, then it gets bigger, and then let's just say it was going to go down again, it would get bigger, and then the bounces would be bigger. So as you get this wave structure going back and forth, it's important to be aware of where we are in the wave structure. And the reason for that is as you start to step on the gas pedal here, this, let's just say, looks like a pretty good entry. What you want to be aware of is you're also near the very top of the bounce wave. So in this case, if it follows through, that's great. If it fails, then you need to be recognizing that it could probably have a very speedy move down, trapping a lot of people who just got long. So anyway, the market is not fair that way. It works us quite hard during corrections. And again, it whips us down and whips us overnight. With regular frequency, but just when you're in a small downtrend, and in this case it's not a huge one so far, but what we want to be aware of is just when we're buying these dips, if the market was going to fail again, then we need to be aware of that situation. Okay, so let's jump over and look at what we want to talk about today. So this is my clean tech setups. And this is intraday, and you can see Lordstown Motors, which, you know, if we just click on that chart, that's been a pretty ugly baby. It was $31 down to $7, and now it's taking a double bounce here up to two-day bounce up to $10. It's still well below what I've got called as a Keltner band here in green, and we're just bouncing up into that range. So while it would be nice to catch this bounce, really you had to be an owner for a period of time, and we finally got a PPO signal that worked and turned up higher. Now the real question is, Are we just recovering and then this falls back down again? We don't know. So what I wanted to cover off today was not just these the one day wonders. I wanted to cover off the 1 month push-ups and go through there. Now, a lot of the leading ones are the miners. So if the overall weakness in the NASDAQ was to start to spread to other areas, the miners have been a relatively good area to be in, and I don't want to diss it in any way. That's not the kind of stocks we're trying to find today. So I'm going to just drive right by those as we look on the table here. So what I've done is I've set up my chart with 7 months of data. I've set it up with a volume, my PPO indicator, and I've kept this Keltner band in here. Now on the ride chart, it was pretty clear, it was helpful. You can see a lot of times in here it wasn't. Now Western Copper, considering the move copper's had, this thing hasn't done much since December. You know, at the beginning of the month you were pretty much at the same place. And yet all of a sudden we had a big 20% push yesterday. So really an odd way for the chart to behave, nothing, all in one day. And then we'll see if it's got any holding power. So let's just go on to the view all mode. And again, we're focusing on the best stocks over the last month. So some of them might have run up and pulled back, but they're still pretty good over the last month. So here's Microvision, and this stock obviously ran up, pulled back, and again from $10 to $26 is a pretty heady move, and now it's pulled back, and the real question is, can it start to break out of here? This stock has been wildly traded, so just keep that in mind. Volatility is huge, but I do like the setup here as it's trying to break through this, I'll call it $16, $18 barrier, and see if it can go any higher. Nucor, another steel materials company. So let's just define all of those as uptrends. Here's Arconic, and I like this chart. I flagged it to members of GregSchnell.com yesterday as a bull flag setup and what we'd like to see. The flag might drift a little lower here, but essentially you want to try and pick it up as long as it maintains a move above 32. Trisura Group, same thing, bull flagging. This is Arrival, and one of the things about Arrival, the stock, you can see it's gently pulled back. I mean, it's a pretty meaningful pullback, but 34, it started in December, and it's been gently working its way down. The one thing I like is, that chart we just saw right at the top has been falling aggressively for the last month and then had a 2-day revival. This stock has held up very well through that whole time frame. So I kind of like stocks like this where they're starting to show strength compared to their peers. And if we actually do start to break out, then a name like this could be one of the early names to take off. So again, I'm just going to scroll past the miners. Here's Vedanta, and this chart just keeps working its way higher. Really nice uptrend. What's not to like? So here's Harley Davidson, and I think we're probably all surprised, but this chart gapped up to break out of the base it was in, pulled down, bouncing off my Keltner area, and now is surging higher again. We are starting to make a lower high in momentum here, so if this was to start to roll down right away, just be aware of that lower high. And so an example would be over here. Ran up, pulled down, we tried to rally, got back up to the same place in price, did not, and then price kind of fell away. So I like to look for the uptrend here in the PPO, and if that starts to fail, then I'm probably less inclined to hold it. So here's Nikola, and what we see on Nikola is it made a new 1 month high. It's not popping like Ride or Lordstown Motors was. It is gently working its way higher. And this name has been beaten up around the CEO exit, which was relatively high profile. Some displays they had didn't work out so well. But they're involved in trying to change energy for large trucks, and I think they were also building a pickup at one point. So with that, the chart is trying to improve here. Now just what we need to see is how much energy. Our PPO is just barely getting back to zero. I do like it on the breakout above $13 here. And if it started to fail again, I'd just let somebody else day trade it because it's got lots of volume. It trades 11 million shares a day. Here's Luminar Technologies, just gently trending lower. I don't mind it. Stock looks pretty good. One of the reasons I like the name, again, it's just floating around my Keltner band here. A breakout through the upside of this would probably be more meaningful to me, but you can see the 100-period moving average would be resistant shortly after. So we'll see if it can finally start to base in here and find some new buyers. We haven't seen any new ones show up lately, just the regular traders, it would appear, and our momentum indicator is still flat. Steel Dynamics, it's dynamic, all right. They're going up. Here's Taseko Mines, been pretty strong. American Battery, again, the stock was beaten down from $5 to $1, 80% off, and now it's sitting around $1.50. If they can start to turn higher again, it's been consolidating while those other charts continue to drift lower. So a move above zero on the PPO might be a nice entry, and then I would just set my stop and not let it get back below the prior base that was being built here. Next gen energy, so we're into uranium. I don't want to cover it off a whole bunch, but uranium in general is trying to break out. I will just say it's been a choppy trade that is, I don't want to say hard to hold. It's just you got to have a relatively small position, and you know, since February you went from 525 and you're at 550. So been a lot of walking around on that one. Here's Cameco. Continues to try and break through to new all-time highs. It did that yesterday and then again this morning. This is Tuesday. I'm recording this for a Wednesday video. Anyway, I want to see if this can continue to hold up. One of the things I don't like on this particular chart is my PPO on every rally is making lower highs. And so I want to make sure that the stock can finally get through here. I think it can. It's just, like I say, it's been choppy. 23 down to 20, so or 19, almost $2 off, or $4 off, which is about 20%, and then a rally back up. So again, it's choppy holding. We'll see if we can finally get going. There was a boost by Biden the other day, President Biden, to discuss nuclear. I think that's a hard sell for a bit here. Anyway, more metals, uranium. And China Recycling, this stock's just been grinding sideways. Northern Genesis acquisition, it's now the Lion Electric Company. And again, when you look at things in 10 per page view, you can always just click on here and change your ticker symbol. So originally I just had it as the SPAC who was buying these companies. Now it's Lion Electric. But you can change it right from here. Okay, so that chart's nice, right? It's basing, it's got a nice little sideways consolidation here for 2 or 3 months. Can we start to see it pop to the upside? A move above my Keltner band and a PPO moving positive above zero would probably get me on board. Tech is another miner, continuing higher. Chemours, chemical company, looks good. Freeport McMoran, I think we all know the name. Ideanomics, here we go. So we're trending sideways here for the last 3 months with a slight downward tilt from, call it 350 back in March, 225. So these are, even though the scale doesn't look like much, if I had taken out these big kind of whipsaws from early on, at least the scale would be moving, but this chart moves big both ways. Again, waiting for PPOs to start to get positive in some of these names would be a little bit helpful. Another uranium name grinding higher. And here's US Steel. Same thing, steel companies trying to push up. Copper. So they've been some of the best performers recently. Copper had just broken out to new all-time highs, so we'll see what's going on there. Here's Energy Fuels. And what I like here is this PPO is getting set up to break both this downward trend. It's resetting near zero and looks like it could start to head higher. Alcoa, another metal. Constellium, Steel ETF. There's lots of them that were up here. So, boy, it's metal after metal here. Okay, another royalty company, LTS Mineral, Energy Fuel. So this one is nuclear related as well. And trying to find support at the 100 period moving average. You can see that PPO declining again. If all of these start to break out together, I think that would finally be a nice position to get on board with. So here's XL Fleet. Now this is one of the names I want to cover off specifically as part of this. So we were up at $35 in December. We got down to $5. We're in a downtrend. And here's the 100 period moving average. The Keltner bands are declining. We're coming up against the bottom of them. Even if this stock starts to bounce, I would expect it to kind of grind sideways while it builds a base and then start to work its way out. I'm not expecting it to literally become the rocket fuel higher, but what we want to start to watch for is these bases set up. So we can see here we had lower lows on the PPO. Now we're finally making a higher low for the first time while price is making a lower low. So we're getting some positive divergence. That's at least hope. And now a rally up and maybe it comes down here, retests the low, and then starts to take off. That would be the way we'd like to play that. And again, one of the reasons we want to do that is because these are so volatile, right? You can make a year's income in a few hours on some of these names. So even if they bounce 30%, again, this one has to go from 5 to 35 is a 700% gain just to get back to where you were in December. That's got a lot of work to do. Helion Holdings, they have a, I'll call it a Ferrari-looking car or a very nice-looking sports car. But this thing's been making lower highs and lower lows. It's now down around, was $8, now 10. PPO continues to stay below zero. Really hard to start to buy this until you start to see a momentum change above zero, at least a positive one, and then starting to actually build a base with higher highs and higher lows in it. Right now, this track record, we briefly got a higher high. It was a one-day wonder and started letting go immediately after. Tenaris just holding sideways here. Would be nice to see this stock start to pop to the upside now. Notice how low the momentum is here. So back here what happened was we got really low, got right down to around zero, started to turn up, and that was a nice place to get on board. We have the same thing here where we have a sideways consolidation. PPO is relatively low. Now the question is, can it hold here and start to turn up, or does it actually roll over here and then what you have is a double top and your momentum is actually starting to go negative? Okay, Switchback Energy, again, trying to hold this $20 level. I should change that one as well to charge point. I have a common chart list that I work with, and then I copy it each week. So I need to go and change the master as opposed to just change these individually. But I just want to show you how to do this while we're here. Very easy to work with. Anyway, you got a downtrend going on, horizontal support around $20. That looks pretty good. And then if this can start to break up through zero, these charging companies are building networks of charging stations, so you can think of American Tower or something like that in the cellular business. ChargePoint is trying to do the same thing for charging cars. Livent, lithium company, basically grinding sideways. PPG, a glass company, pushing up here very, very strong. What's not to like? The chart might roll back down, let's say down to the Keltner band and get another bounce off of there. Allegheny Technologies, more steel, Rio Tinto, First Quantum, Albemarle, another lithium name, just grinding sideways. If PPO is starting to move back above zero, this is actually one of my favorite setups right here. So let's do a little analysis on this one. So what I like to see here, see how the stock was below zero, started to make a higher low. Now it looks like it's going to make a higher low, whatever. I could have my line up here, or I could just draw it bouncing off zero. But what I want to show you is momentum starting to go positive. It pulls back and then it starts to take off. So this is when I would set an alert. I'll call it a buy level at 165 or 167. If it starts to turn higher, I'm in. If it falls back below my Keltner band, I want back out. But I like the idea that the whole trade is starting to set up in terms of improving momentum. Now, this took a couple of months here to get this. And as you can see, even if we'd have tried to jump on board on the first wave up, it's come back to retrace. So many times you'll see this kind of move above, pull back. And it's on that pullback, you don't want to give up. You want to start to watch it for a better improvement. And all of a sudden, if the price starts to move higher, that's finally the trade you're looking for, as opposed to buying the deep bottom and then getting whipped around so much. Okay. We were already on this page. We're just going to flip forward. So here's Linde, the gas company, surging really, really well. They're obviously going to be involved in the hydrogen part of the business. They've been doing oxygen for health. They've got a lot of, as manufacturing picks up, they'll be doing welding materials and all that. So big business. Centrius Energy just grinding sideways. Nothing I want to probably look at just yet until it starts to break out. Hudbay had broken out, pulled back. And now the real question, does it have enough momentum to get going, or are we starting to lose the momentum in these mining names? PPO is trending up. I'm surprised after the breakout of this downtrend. When we get the breakout of this downtrend, that's bullish to me. What I don't want to see is an immediate failure here. And so I would draw this trend line up and just make sure that my momentum continues to improve. And if it doesn't, probably want to leave the party relatively early and not wait for more dire consequences, because at this point it's a failed breakout. Not very failed, it's what we would call a back test. So it runs up, pulls back, tests, and then takes off to the upside. That would be the bullish outcome. If it starts to fail right here, you want to be very careful, because then it's a failed breakout, might fall all the way back to the bottom of the channel. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to ride it from whatever, a breakout here to 850, and all of a sudden I'm down at $6. That would be a little hard on the portfolio. So really important place to just be aware of when you get these be right back trades. It runs up, pulls back, and then tries to take off. Toyota Motor, all of a sudden some of the car companies like Stellantis and Toyota, BMW have been holding up and doing very well. Ford tried to get back on its horse this week. So those car companies with limited supply of chips and a few things like that, you would think it would impair them. Actually, what it's done is tighten their margins, and they're selling cars for higher prices. So pushing that up, I think, is kind of the way that's going. Critical elements, another metal. So here's Stellantis, what I just mentioned with Toyota, pushing to new all-time highs. PPO bouncing off zero for the first time in a long time. Want to see this continue to push. Southern Copper, LI Auto. So here we go. Let's just take this chart. And as we're working through these lists, and again, the whole idea behind setting up your lists is so that you can just go look at them anytime you want, but you'd almost think there's a computer trading this, the way it kind of gets to a trend line and fails and fails and fails and fails. And here we are one day away from the trend line. So don't get me wrong, good car company, whatever, all of that kind of stuff, not debating that. I'm just saying the investors continue to sell it whenever it gets back up to this downtrend line. Was 45, got down to 15, that's 70% off. Starting to bounce up. Now, is this the bounce that's going to work? So far, nothing on my momentum indicators is making like a really higher low like it tried to do here. Still stayed below zero, so you just got to be careful when you're trading with a negative momentum line to begin with, and then trying to find improvements based on that. Okay, so here's Oricobra, another miner, nuclear. Plug Power. So this one's been bouncing nicely since last Tuesday. The market was down. Wednesday the market was down, and on Tuesday Plug had a big push up, and then Wednesday held while the market was selling off. So Thursday, Friday it pushed higher. Well, Friday it pushed higher. Monday, Tuesday, now it's right up against my Keltner band. Again, we're just starting to see some slight improvement here. It's trying to make a higher low in momentum. I would still expect it to grind sideways for a little bit and then maybe start to get us on board. Alberton acquisition hasn't done anything yet, so it's still sideways. Methanex, they make methane or create methane. The other thing about this stock is you can see this big pennant pattern here. And for clean energy, this is obviously part of the discussion, but if this starts to break out to the upside after a nice flag like this or a pennant, probably a good place to get on board. Lordstown Motor, just kind of making anybody who is a short seller have to cover their shorts briefly here. Momentum trend is trying to improve. You're still well below zero. Again, like that Nikola chart, I would like this to start improving and building a higher low over here before we start to get too involved in these names. Renewable Energy Group. This one thing I like about this chart is it kind of lost its selling momentum, and then on the 1st of May made a spike low down here, just kind of got rid of anybody, but we were already starting to see an improvement in momentum. Ran up, pulled back, trying to grind higher, finally getting above my Keltner band for the first time. So this makes it more interesting. You're at new 1-month highs as of today, starting to build a bit of a base, and you've broken the downtrend in relative strength compared to the S&P 500. So perhaps this can finally start to move higher. A lot of these companies have been hit hard on the back of increased copper costs, increased steel costs, which are two of the biggest components in renewable energy. Okay, Ford Motor trying to break this small little downtrend here. Nothing serious, but it is trying to bounce off the 100-period moving average. That Toyota chart, Stellantis chart, those were pretty nice. Now what we want to see is, can it get more momentum? We've gone below zero. We just don't want to see it kind of come up and then fail. That would be a good signal to leave, not enter. And we've got a downtrend line here. It's trying to break above. So it did break above and now it's trying to hold. If that should fail, we probably want out. Thunder Bridge acquisition hasn't acquired anything. All of these didn't work. These are companies that were supposed to come on board and haven't yet. So here's BMW. You can see trying to push up again, was 32, over 35 here in 2 weeks. Pretty nice climb. The real question is, can it be like Toyota and start to break out topside? PPO suggests a really nice bounce location and wants to start working higher. Honda Motor, grinding sideways in this channel, and it's had a couple of quick spurts up that it was unable to hold. Now the real question would be, can it keep holding here? Does it finally get going? Or do we start to lose momentum and it actually breaks lower? Lithium, Forum merger hasn't done anything. Polymet mining. Okay, anyway, the idea behind going through these is that the names were starting to get, bases is not the right word, but they're starting to at least bounce, and 70% off will do that to you. Again, my scan was for something that was moving up, or one of the better performers in this whole group in the last month. A lot of them ended up being the miners. But I think the second component of the whole thing is to watch for those other names that were actually real companies trying to get something going, got sold off as part of the washout, and now go back in and look to see if there's something there. If you have any questions on how to do any of this, feel free to send me an email at info@gregschnell.com. You can also watch that monthly video that I posted here, the YouTube address for, and if there's anything in any of those, again, info@gregschnell.com. I don't get many emails in there, so every kind of couple of days I go in and check them. So you could go take a look there. But I think the most important part here is maintain a balanced view. We're trying to, the NASDAQ is trying to break out back through prior highs, and if it can't do that, we really need to watch this. So this is Tuesday around noon, noon Eastern. So hopefully with that, just be careful here because the market's at a very important juncture. Thanks for taking the time to join me on Market Buzz. Market Buzz airs Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. You can also see the recordings on StockCharts TV or on StockCharts on demand. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Hey guys, Dave Keller here with StockCharts.com. Thanks so much for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, and we hope you did, hit the like button right below. Also, we have so much new content every day. Consider subscribing to the channel. Just hit the subscribe button in the video or right below. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Have a fantastic day.